No. Come on, where is it?
Dave, it's your Idaho Central app here. Any chance you're missing a debit card? Let's get that taken care of for you. With ICCU's card control, you can turn any card off with the tap of your finger.
You got it.
And back on again. Out. The closest Idaho Central Credit Union branch is in your pocket.
It's the fall kickoff sale at Lithia Ford of Boise. We're going all the way so you can score more for your trade-in and trade up to a new Ford truck or SUV today. Visit Lithia Ford of Boise, where Ford begins in Idaho.
This is Bronco Nation News Live. The best interviews, the most informed opinions, the latest breaking news, all from the top Boise State insiders. Bronco Nation News Live from BroncoNationNews.com is presented by RowPaint.com, the official paint and coatings company of Boise State Athletics. All Bronco Nation news broadcasts come from the Western Collective Studios. Head down to Western Collective's locations in Garden City or downtown Boise to try some of their delicious beers, including the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the first beer to support an NIL collective. Now, here's four-time NSMA Idaho Sports Writer of the Year, BJ Rains, with another edition of Bronco Nation News Live.
Hey, happy Monday, Bronco Nation. How we doing? Welcome on into a live edition of Bronco Nation News Live here at BroncoNationNews.com. It's a blue and orange store Monday as we get your week started off. And they're in the RowPaint.com studios in downtown Boise. 95.3, The Ticket. You know them, you love them, you read them, you hear them. You think about him while you sleep, probably. The great Mike Prater. How we doing, Mike?
BJ, it's been a couple of days since we've been able to hook up and say hi, so glad to be here. And holy cow, a lot's happened since last Monday when we did this show, and I have a feeling we have a lot of things to talk about today.
Yeah, I like seeing you on the screen there, but I like talking to you better in person down in Phoenix last week. I wish we could go back and do that show again.
Yeah, the commute was a lot easier and a lot nicer last week, and the fog was a little pesky today. It's certainly a different era, different time, but it's kind of cool. You wake up today and you kind of officially have put in the football season to rest, although I know there's a lot of headlines, and we're going to jump right into the transfer portal headlines, but, you kind of dive into a basketball season and all. You wake up on a Monday like this with a little extra juice in your step because you had a chance to recharge a little bit, and you're looking forward to a basketball season. Even I'm looking forward to a basketball season, so cannot wait to get this thing started.
Seems fitting. Mike Prater dives right in after they lose. I don't know. It just seems like that's your.
Yes, exactly.
Hey, RowPaint.com, our title sponsor. You see Mike wearing the hat there. RowPaint.com, all your painting needs. Make sure you hit up our title sponsor, whether it's concrete coatings, interior, exterior painting. RowPaint.com, and of course, our studio sponsor, Western Collective, Horseshoe Golden Ale. You can pick those up at Extra Mile Arena the rest of the season, or go check out their brewery in Garden City. We appreciate our studio sponsor, Western Collective. And Mike, I think you could go multiple ways with the lead story today. I know the basketball team, a tough loss on Saturday, and we'll certainly get to that. But I think the lead today has to be the transfer portal and has to be the news. We've been. I mean, this has been a 6-8 week thing. Oh, who are they going to lose in the portal? Who are they going to lose in the portal? This has been one of the biggest stories kind of surrounding this program, the last couple of weeks and months, and certainly the last 5 days. The portal officially opening the morning after the Fiesta Bowl, the portal officially closing 5 days later, which was last night at midnight. And the only player to leave the transfer portal for Boise State of significance during that time is wide receiver Prince Strachan. Now, they do have 48 hours for the paperwork to be, and the computer to update and things like that. So technically a player could show up in the portal in the next day or two, but I was, communicating late last night with someone that would certainly know about the situation in the portal, and they were not informed of anybody that was going to be entering. They feel like they were able to hang on to everybody, and I think it would be a pretty big surprise, if not a shock at this point, to see a name kind of trickle out in the next 48 hours. So for right now, they hung on to all these guys. There is another 10-day window in April, and I know Jay Tuss tweeted it, and he's right on. I mean, all it does now is if you said no, those schools come back and up their offer in April and try to get you again. So it's certainly not over by any means. But right now, to hang on to all these guys that we thought might get some big money offers and frankly did get big money offers elsewhere to stick around, just another check in the box, another remarkable accomplishment by Spencer Danielson and company.
Yeah, and the spring one will be a lot different because, the guys that have decisions to make will certainly have a couple of months, a couple of weeks of spring ball and depth chart kind of conversation, so they'll know where they stand. So that's going to be an important one. We'll keep an eye on that. So that's always a good reminder, but it's almost like I'm to the point, and I don't know how you feel, BJ, but almost to the point where it's not like I didn't expect anybody to go, but I think Spencer Danielson has such a grasp on this roster, and he proved it last year, and so far he's proving it again this year. I wasn't worried. As a matter of fact, I wouldn't have been surprised if the number would have been 0. I know there was 12 before, 12 guys from Boise State on the roster before that went into the transfer portal. All 12 of those guys hardly ever played except for Malachi Nelson, and we saw over the weekend that he ended up at UTEP, so no problem there. And here comes Prince Strachan, but when Spencer Danielson tells us that he's got a good control on this roster, that the roster retention is strong, that Boise State and this family and this chemistry that they got building on, I'm buying into that because that's been the fact so far. And everything that they've done, everything that they've said has come to fruition. So losing one, and I know it's a big one, and we're going to dive into that, and it's in a position of concern for me in terms of the wide receiver room, but Spencer Danielson, he was in a position last week to play in the Fiesta Bowl because of the things he did last year in January and February, and so far he's winning the offseason. That transfer portal news was pretty big for Boise State, but it's kind of what I expected at this point.
And I know it's what you expected, and I know it's what a lot of fans probably expected, and in part it was because, if you got Ashton Genty to stay, you're going to be able to get some of these guys to stay. But I don't think we can, I still don't think we can overstate how big of a deal this is, even if we expected it, and just because maybe we expected it because it was Spencer Danielson and whatever. But I mean, there were SEC schools that would have taken Cage Casey. I mean, you go down the line here and what some of these guys probably got offered. My understanding is everybody other than Maddox Madsen may have taken less to come back. I mean, they were offered more NIL money elsewhere, and a lot of these guys decided that's okay. I want to come back to Boise State anyway. I mean, I put a rough list together this morning, Mike, doing my show prep work here. I mean, I had 9 kind of tier 1 guys that I think probably got offered some money elsewhere. Tell me where I'm wrong, but I had Cage Casey, Ty Benefield, Latrell Caples, Roger Carrion, Matt Lauder, Maddox Madsen, Jaden Virgin Morgan, Andrew Simpson, and Mason Randolph were guys that I thought probably for sure got interest. And I got another 10 that I think schools might have been interested in or could have, if they wanted to, entered the portal themselves and gotten some money elsewhere. And an Austin Bolt, Breezy Dubar, James Ferguson Reynolds, Cam Bates, Braxton Feely, Sire Gaines, Zion Washington, Hall Schmidt, Dylan Riley, and Marco Notriani. I think at least in some school might have had some interest in those guys. I mean, that's 19 guys, Mike Prater, that could have possibly entered the transfer portal to either seek more playing time or seek a bigger, payday. And to go 19 for 19 on that list, 19 for 20 overall, I thought I didn't think they'd be able to keep everybody. I thought it would be most. I didn't think there was going to be some mass exodus. But, I mean, you only have so much NIL money. Joe Nichols only got so much of a pot there at the collective that he can go to Spencer Danielson and say, how do you want to divvy all this up? And I am curious how the revenue sharing is going to come into this. And maybe, I don't know if they're promising these guys money that'll come in April when the revenue sharing starts. I mean, we're supposed to talk to Spencer Danielson, I think, later this week for a season wrap-up press conference. And that'll be on one of the questions, I think, how the revenue sharing plays into this. But to get in my mind, and no disrespect to anybody else that I might have overlooked on the roster, maybe there was another guy or two, but to have 19 guys that I think could have had some interest and gotten some money in the portal, and to have them 19 of 20, other than Prince Strachan, all stay, whether we expected it or not. Washington State lost 25 guys to the portal before their coach left. Before their coach left on a decent season, they went 8-4, and they lost 25 guys to the portal. To lose one of significance, I don't think you can overstate how big of a deal this is.
Yeah, that's well said. That's very well said. And I agree with everything you just said there. I probably would have put the running backs in your first list of guys. And we all know that, 2-3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago by now, Spencer Danielson threw out that number 13 players. So we know for a fact at least 13 players, as of, post Mountain West Championship game, were being courted in one way or the other, all because of money, all because of NIL, all because of promises from collectives out there. So, you're right. We shouldn't take it for granted, even though it's kind of where we expect this football program. It would have been shocking if 10, 5, 7, 8, 9 would have gone. And the fact that one gone when you put it in a perspective like that certainly makes a lot of sense. So I was worried that one of the running backs would go, because the running back room does concern me a lot because of the competition. There's great talent, and your list of 20 right there, 15 to 20 players, is all the best talent on this team. But the competition is so fierce, and somebody's going to get left out when it comes to the running back room, and all those guys want to play. If you told me, I thought Boise State would have lost a running back. The fact that they kept every one of those running backs, at least for now, we'll see how the depth chart plays out in the spring. And when that transfer portal opens again in April, we'll see how that plays out. But right now, it's off and running for Boise State. So the collective stuff, I'm so fascinated by the collective stuff, and I know they don't talk about it. I wish we had access to the money and the numbers and what's going on here. How much money is Maddox Madsen getting? How much money is Maddox Madsen not getting? How much does it take to keep every single one of these players as Spencer Danielson plays the banking game over the last couple of weeks? It's pretty fascinating what has college football has become, and Prince Strachan apparently is the only casualty so far.
Yeah, and I did hear a little birdie tell me, Mike Prater, they had another transfer running back visiting this past weekend. They're planning to take 2 transfer running backs. They have Malik Sherrod already. My understanding is there will be another running back addition at some point also through the portal, or that is the hope, is to get 2 transfer running backs to go with the 3 returning guys. And I don't know if that is because even in April they want to cover themselves if somebody does leave, because you're right. And that could be one of those April casualties where Gaines, Dubar, and Riley, Dylan Riley all compete, and Sherrod's in there, and a guy like Dylan Riley maybe, or one of those guys is like, I'm no better than 4th on the depth chart. I'm out of here. And so I still think you could see a running back head out in the in the spring area. And I don't know who it is, by the way. We knew about Malik Sherrod, and we were kind of beating around the bush on that one. I don't know who it is. I just know a running back visited over the weekend, and they are planning or hoping to take another transfer running back, which is interesting to me at this point. So I agree with you on the running backs. I probably should have had Gaines and Dubar and those guys on the other column. And but I still don't think you're out of the woods yet with all of those guys in terms of the running backs. But I mean, you look at, and as you start to spin this, and we'll get to Prince in a minute, but you start to spin this forward, Mike Prater, to what this roster now could look like next year. I mean, 4 starting offensive linemen back. I even had Hall Schmidt on my secondary list, a starting tackle for a team in the playoff, a right tackle. I think Hall Schmidt probably could have had some interest, not as much as some of the other guys, but you're talking about 4 starting linemen that I think other schools would love to have all coming back, and your quarterback coming back, and, the running backs we mentioned as of now, Matt Lauder, a big one coming back, and your other tight ends behind him with Wagner and those guys. And the receivers, you lose Prince and you probably lose Cam Camper. I'm not counting him coming back, even though there's technically a chance. I think you got to just plan for that. But to have, Caples and Bolt, and you're saying that's a concern there too. And I'm with you. But overall, I think you could have 8 starters back on offense next year. Maybe depending on how you categorize a starter, 6 on defense. They still have some spots they need to add, but there's no reason why this team probably won't be maybe preseason top 25 and probably at least in the mix for one of these group of 5 spots again.
Yeah, and the offseason we'll be spending a lot of time talking about the offense and the fact that everybody is coming back, and most everybody's coming back. You can always replace one starting offensive lineman, and they did a nice job this past season of building some depth. So they certainly got some options and some possibilities there. So it's really cool to see. Nate Potter's inherited an offense that's that's pretty damn good. And I know Nate Potter comes highly recommended by Danielson, highly recommended by Cutter, highly recommended by all the good people in college football. And Nate Potter's a good dude. But there are some concerns of just about the experience. So the fact that he's inheriting this offense that should be in pretty darn good shape, I don't know if we're going to have a quarterback competition. I mean, I'm not going to go controversy by any means, but is there going to be a quarterback competition? The coaches will sell that. So that's certainly something we have to take a look at down the road, and how much merit, how much substance is going to be in that, or is this 1,000% Maddox Madsen, full steam ahead? Let's focus and worry about some other positions on this offense. But yeah, this offense is in great shape. It's in great shape, except for that wide receiver room, which I have massive concerns about.
Yeah, and we can go there, but I want to mention, you mentioned Maddox Madsen, and this morning UTEP did officially announce Malachi Nelson as going there, and he wants to play. There's a connection there. I get it. You know, the Pete Thamel tweet about, oh, he turned down more money, more opportunity. I mean, any agent dad's going to say that. I mean, I get that too. And this is not meant at all disrespectful. And I even deleted a tweet last night because I didn't intend for it to come off as disrespectful. And some people thought it was. But I mean, all these people that were clamoring that Malachi Nelson had to start Mike Prater, and that how could they let this, generational type player start? He's going to UTEP. And I don't say that disrespectfully. I know it comes out wrong, but like if Dirk Cutter screwed this up so badly and he had to be starting, and they would have been undefeated if he'd have been starting, then he would have been going to, TCU or some Power 5 school for his transfer. And I know he's kind of looking for an opportunity to play. Not everyone's going to guarantee him a spot. Sounds like he's got pretty much good assurance that he's going to be the starter down there and get a chance to put some tape together and, work his way back up maybe to a Power 5 school next year. I'm wishing him I'm wishing him the best. I hope that he kills it down there, and it won't surprise me one bit if he does. He obviously has a lot of talent, but for the folks that were clamoring that Dirk Cutter screwed this up and how could they possibly have not started him and they ruined this and all this, sometimes you see the offers and where the players end up, and that tells you what you need to know, and he's heading to UTEP. Yeah,
and it is just to go there and play, and he made the smart move. Yeah, on the outside it doesn't look good, but it made the smart move in terms of just go find a place to go play football. And if he does have the connection there, as has been reported, and the guy said, you know what, don't worry about a competition. This job is yours. And they're not going to say it like that, or maybe they will privately behind the scenes. He just needs to get on the field and play at this point. I think we all agree with that. Maddox Madsen, has the intangibles. Malachi Nelson does not. Can Malachi Nelson grow into the intangibles? That's the experiment here. We all know he can play football, but the intangibles. Dirk Cutter says Maddox Madsen is a winner. He learns. He's a sponge. He keeps everything in his brain. I can tell him something at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday morning, and 3 weeks from now, when it's the third quarter of a crunch time situation, Maddox Madsen, it's going to click into his mind. So the intangibles, the mental game, the ability to lead, the ability to be a winner. And that's Dirk Cutter's word. That's Boise State's word. That's Spencer Danielson's word in terms of Maddox Madsen. Malachi Nelson now has a chance to prove that. And it all could be out there. We'll see how it plays out. I don't think you're going to get a lot of love at UTEP. His offensive line, he's probably going to get beat up an awful lot. That football team, I can't sit here and tell you what the roster looks like for 2025, but we all know the history of UTEP football, and it's not good. But the guy needs to get on the field, period. Play football. Let's see what happens.
And I think in terms of the quarterback depth, Mike Prater, they have to add, you're right. I mean, they have to add somebody. And we need to remind folks, I've seen a couple of comments here, that the portal is closed to enter the portal, but Boise State can still add players that entered their name in the portal before their deadline, whether it was the 28th or 5 games after they play. Like Prince Strachan entered the portal, but he doesn't have to pick a new school by last night. He can now take as much time as he wants to pick his new school. So there are still hundreds, if not thousands, of players in the transfer portal available for Boise State to add, and they can add them. They just can't have a player, and you just can't enter the portal after your deadline. So there are still quarterbacks in the portal, and what kind of quarterback they can get, Mike Prater. I mean, I do think they need a transfer quarterback, but I'm not saying that's to start. I don't know if you can get a guy. I don't know what quarterback is going to, that's part of the problem. You have a returning starting quarterback that had, decent stats and took his team to the college football playoff. Coming back, you're not going to get some guy that wants to be a starter that's a step down from a Power 5 school, former 5. I mean, you're not going to get a Malachi Nelson type this year, I don't think. And you're not going to get a guy that I would think wouldn't have a lot of playing experience either, because they want to play and they're not going to come here and play. So you want to get some sort of, I mean, I don't know if you go the JUCO route and find a quarterback there or what you do, but you're going to have a tough time finding a quarterback with a whole lot of talent to come knowing the situation here.
Yeah, 1,000%. And I was thinking about that last night, and I can't imagine, how Nate Potter and or Spencer Danielson are processing that. Correct me if I'm wrong. They're down to Madsen, Cutforth, and Annette. They didn't sign a quarterback in December on the high school recruiting front, so they're literally down to
a walk-on.
Yeah, exactly. And Annette has never played, and so he was the guy in the recruiting class last year. They didn't have a recruiting guy this year in the recruiting class. They didn't sign a running back either. That problem's been taken care of through the transfer portal. They got plenty of running backs, so no problem there. But I'm worried about the quarterback room because of exactly what you just said in terms of how do you sell that? Come to Boise State, transfer, leave your school, leave your team, leave your best friend, leave your girlfriend, leave your comfortable life and come to Boise State and play behind Maddox Madsen. That's going to be a tough one. So there's not going to be a lot of guys you can sign and develop right now. They have to worry about Cutforth and Annette when it comes to that. You got to get another quarterback in the room. And I don't know what school started today, I think, or sometime this week, if I remember right. And so you got to get somebody fast. I wouldn't be surprised if we heard something, even if it's a desperate attempt. You can go into the transfer portal right now and hit quarterback, and there's 100 different possibilities. Obviously, Spencer Danielson's looking for the right fit, but they just need a body in here at this point, somebody that can play for Maddox Madsen if indeed something goes wrong there. So definitely quarterback is an issue moving forward.
I think they get one more week. I think next Monday is the first day of school, if I believe,
next week?
On the 13th,
Okay.
But I'm not. You might be right on today. I know it. Yes, someone in the chat saying next Monday. And
I know a lot of the kids went back to school today in terms of grade school, high school. But they
get tomorrow. One more day. Unfortunately, I don't know what the teachers get a work day today. My kids don't go back till tomorrow. Unfortunately.
So just the teachers. See, my daughter's a teacher. I knew she told me she was going back to class today, but the kids go back tomorrow.
Yes, they get it. They need they just had 2 weeks off and they need another day to prepare for the second semester, I guess. So
they do.
No, I'm just kidding. They do I love the teachers and they do a great job in the school system here. But people are talking about Martinez. He is a walk-on, the local walk-on from Meridian. I know he may have had a scholarship offer from Memphis. I saw it was reported, but he is coming as a preferred walk-on. And, I saw that. He may turn out to be the next great thing. I don't know, but he is a walk-on. Max Cutforth, I would assume, Prater, with what we're hearing about Cutforth, at some point he may get, especially if they go to the 105, get bumped up to scholarship. But right now you have 2 scholarship quarterbacks, and one of them was a true freshman last year that, didn't play a snap. And so you need to have somebody. I mean, you need to have somebody of some significance. I mean, I think the JUCO route might be interesting. When they brought in Jalen Henderson from JUCO a couple years ago, a guy that just wants a D1 offer and wants a chance to move up to the D1 level and is willing to, try to, and just, I don't say happy being a backup, but if you're at a JUCO, you get a chance to go play at a college football playoff. You're going to need somebody that's, you feel good enough about putting in the game if Maddox Madsen gets hurt, and it's going to be tough to attract the talent at quarterback. So we'll see. They definitely have to add a guy or two, at least one, maybe 2, to be honest with you. You like to usually have 5 scholarship quarterbacks, 1 for every kind of class. Right now they're at 2. So I think they might need to add multiple quarterbacks. And Spencer Danielson, as I said, is supposed to talk later this week at some point. We can kind of wrap all of that up and ask about what they're looking to do there. You said you had some concerns with the roster, notably at wide receiver, Mike Prater. We'll get to those in just a second, but I do want to thank Western Collective, the Horseshoe Golden Ale, the Orange Chaos Seltzer. We're talking NIL. We're talking keeping these players at Boise State, and an easy way to do that is support the Horseshoe Collective, and you can do that through Western Collective's Horseshoe Golden Ale and Orange Chaos Seltzer. You purchase this beer, the seltzer, portion of the proceeds goes back to benefit the student athletes at Boise State. The Horseshoe Collective, the Horseshoe Golden Ale, Orange Chaos Seltzer. Go to the brewery in Garden City or find one of their other locations and return the favor there. Horseshoe Collective, the Golden Ale, the Orange Chaos Seltzer from our studio sponsor, Western Collective. RowPaint.com is our title sponsor, Andy Rowe and company. Check them out online, rowpaint.com. All your painting needs. Now that we've turned into 2025, they are scheduling for their first quarter here. The concrete coatings, I highly recommend it. They transformed our ugly-looking concrete slab at our old house, and we got way more value on our house thanks to the back patio looking so much nicer once we got it done by Row Paint. So concrete coatings, interior, exterior painting, all your painting needs, You will not be disappointed. Hit up our title sponsor at rowpaint.com. Idaho Central Credit Union, ICCU.com. They converted Mike Prater. They can convert you as well. ICCU.com. I know you may like your banking experience, but once you make the switch to some of the small stuff you don't even think about, they got you covered at ICCU. There's a branch pretty much on every corner, but the easiest, that mobile e-branch online banking. Check them out online, ICCU.com. Matt Bauscher and Bauscher Real Estate. Saw him courtside on Saturday. When you buy or sell a home with Matt Bauscher, you get to know everybody in that picture there, because every step of the process, every step of the way, there's someone else helping you, and that's their field they're trained in. They know what they're doing. It's just first-class service, personalized attention. Nothing gets missed. Matt Bauscher, Bauscher Real Estate, and we're talking $1 million homes. We're talking $200,000 homes. Doesn't matter, any size. Matt Bauscher, selling, buying, they're ready to help you. Check them out online at BauscherRealEstate.com. And Ridley's Family Markets, ShopRidleys.com. They got locations across the Treasure Valley. ShopRidleys.com, across the state of Idaho, across the surrounding states. They're ready to help you out, and download that Skip app. Get savings up to 40% off at the checkout line. And Snake River Pool and Spa Patio and Game. They're part of the Boise State home team, been around since 1978. Whether it's a spa, whether it's a pool table, whether it's a sauna, they got you covered. Snake River Pool and Spa, Twin Falls, Boise, Meridian, Nampa. View their full inventory online at thespateam.com. All right, this is a Blue and Orange Store Monday edition here. Mike Prater's there at the KTIK studios. My name's BJ Rains. We appreciate you guys. Every weekday, 9 a.m., we talk Boise State sports here, Mountain West sports, college sports, whatever else is going on in the sports world. We're joined on Mondays by Mike Prater. So if you're just checking out our channel here, we appreciate you. We're also live on the KTIK channel, so give them a follow on all of the KTIK YouTube and social media accounts as well. And Mike, the wide receiver room, Prince Strachan. I'm not that surprised, to be honest with you. I think it is a loss. I think he, if you look at the stats for most of the year, I would say he was, I hate to phrase it like this, but largely a disappointment. I mean, I know they didn't pass the ball a ton when you had the receiving, the running game that they did. But I remember fall camp. I know I was standing next to Johnny. I think you were there. There were days where Prince Strachan looked like, and maybe this is saying something about the DBs, but there were days where Prince Strachan looked like a man amongst boys, both in his size, his stature, some of the catches he was making. I mean, we were all talking about, is Prince Strachan gone to the NFL after this year? Is he the next? I mean, you just looked at him and he was just like a thoroughbred out there with what he could do and his size, and he just looked amazing. And then it just never really carried over to the games. First couple games, he barely had any targets. And the Fiesta Bowl, he finished strong. So I'm sure somebody got in his ear. And that's the danger of when you play in these late bowl games. Every coach in America, other than Penn State and Boise State, was watching that game. Even the other playoff teams sitting in their hotel the night before the game watching the Fiesta Bowl, and they're going, oh, who is this 6'5" guy making these kind of catches? I mean, who is this? He had a breakout game at the perfect time to go and get himself some money. And I know with him being from the Bahamas, it's not quite – the NIL thing's a little different too, so I don't think it's a straight cash grab. But that one was an interesting one to me. I'm not overly surprised just because – but he did underperform, but I do think he was primed for a big year if he would have come back. What'd you take when you saw the news that Prince Strachan was heading out?
Prince Strachan is the perfect example of the transfer portal, and the transfer portal really comes down to one word, and it's about potential. And we've known that Prince Strachan has had potential since the day we saw him, based on everything you just said, especially physicality-wise, at least the physical look of him. The size. He's not that thick of a dude, but he's thick enough to play a wide receiver at a high level. I think Prince Strachan, and see, this is where I'll probably get in trouble. I think he's a little bit soft mentally, and I'll go back to what Spencer Danielson has said all season long about the wide receiver room, just in terms of the wide receiver room. To me, was decided every Monday through Friday, not so much on Saturdays, but just the practicing, the work habits, the work ethic, the ability to get better, the ability to improve. And the wide receiver room at Boise State's really struggled in that area for whatever reason. I'm not quite sure. The separation gap. I know you can always sit here and say that their quarterback had issues here, issues there, and Boise State's priority was always to run the football. Well, that's okay, but when they had a chance at times, they didn't really step up. Couple of games here, couple of games there, and you're right about Prince Strachan. The perfect timing in the Fiesta Bowl to go off and do your thing. So that was good for him. I'm not sure where he's going to end up. I'm not sure how good he's going to be. I don't see anything clicking with Prince Strachan until something clicks in his head and he becomes more of an alpha male. He's really passive. He's really soft, and sometimes he's soft on the football field as well. And that concerns me. The route running, the ability to separate, the ability to go out there and be physical. Some of these big-time wide receivers we're seeing right now are so dang physical anymore. It's crazy the kind of separation that they can create. And I don't see that from Prince Strachan. Frankly, I don't see that from Boise State's wide receiver room, and that's going to morph into our conversation about the future of this room. But, yeah, losing Prince Strachan based on the potential, that's a tough hit. But Boise State took a hit in the wide receiver room, and that's a tough hit as well.
Yeah, and I mentioned Cam Camper. He technically does have a year left, but I talked to him at that Fiesta Bowl media day on that Sunday, and I just didn't get the sense that – I know Spencer may have said something that I saw elsewhere that, that I missed, that they were maybe, all in or something. I don't know. But when I spoke directly to both McCoy and Camper, I didn't get the sense that it was likely they were coming back. They may change their mind. They may have gotten some NIL money. They may have heard they weren't, ready for the NFL, whatever. I don't know. I think it's good news that a Cam Camper didn't enter the portal. I mean, there's at least, he could have, even whether he wants to play another year of college or not, he could have entered the portal, and then because they did a 1-year blanket ruling, like it is official. Like I don't know if what's going to happen for the Javen Buchanans of the world and the guys that have multiple years, but they said anybody where this would have been your senior year, you would be done right now. If you played any amount of JUCO, we'll give you 1 more year next year while we figure this out. So Cam Camper 100% has a another year left if he wants it, and so he has to decide whether he wants to go to the NFL, whether he wants to try to go get paid somewhere else, which I think Cam Camper, if he decides to play another year of college, would have been one of the most desirable players on Boise State's roster.
Absolutely.
So I don't know if that's something where they're having to put together a NIL package through the collective to try to get him to come back. And he's thinking, do I go NFL? Do I end my football career? Do I transfer somewhere else? But I think that, changes things in a big way if you're able to get Cam Camper back. But I can't count on that right now as in my projections, Mike Prater, in terms of that happening. So that would certainly be a game changer. But you look at, losing him and losing Prince Strachan, 2 of your main guys. I don't know what's going on with Chris Marshall. That's another question I have for Spencer Danielson on this week. I mean, is Chris Marshall still on the roster? Is he going to be a part of this team next year? Another guy that has a ton of potential. I'm just not sure you can count on him based on the injuries and whatever else, why he didn't play. I know he was a very exciting player, wrote a story about him, great story, but just never materialized, never happened. So he's another wild card for me in terms of, getting him back or not. But Latrell Caples, Austin Bolt, not a bad place to start with both those guys coming back to, productive, proven guys that I think both another year removed from injury, both another year in the system. I think you could have huge years from both Caples, and I really like Austin Bolt at his size and his potential, and even a Chase Penry coming back. I think that's a guy that can, on a third down, has proven to make some big catches, and maybe was kind of lost in the shuffle a little bit, but might be ready for a larger role as well. So you have some guys to work with, and I even like, a Cam Bates. I think as a young guy, Cam Bates showed a lot of promise, Mike, the speed and some of the things that he can do, but I mean, that's not a ton of returning, catches. I mean, I guess the best part about it is Matt Lauder is your second leading receiver at the tight end position. So you kind of lump him into the passing game there with what he can do. But overall, you have a Caples, you have Bolt, a couple other guys that were used sparingly in Penry and Bates, like I said. But as you said, you're losing multiple starters at the wide receiver position, not a ton of depth there as well. That's got to be and I know they like some of the younger guys that redshirted, and at one time, Latrell Caples redshirt was a young guy, and all these guys are going to earn their chance. And maybe there's a couple diamond in the roughs we don't really know about that are ready to go. But I do think in the transfer portal, they added Cam Camper last year. That was huge. They could use another kind of impact addition at the wide receiver as well.
I think it's mandatory. This football team absolutely has to have it. And you're not wrong about all those wide receivers you talked about, starting with Caples and Austin Bolt. But Caples, no offense, guys, and this is just my opinion, and I could be 1,000% wrong, but Caples and Bolt are not wide receiver one material. I don't even know if they can grow into that. They could surprise me. I think Caples is a good complementary wide receiver. I don't think he can be the alpha male wide receiver. Austin Bolt has just spent too much time in college football, and he has not yet emerged. I'm not sure if it's route running. I think Bolt has a little bit of a route running issue, if you ask me. I don't like Austin Bolt's hands. I think he's got hands of stone at times. Physicality-wise, he can go off and do some things. Caples is a great athlete when he can do some things. Camper was the big one. Camper had 91 targets this year. After that, the number 2 wide receiver with targets was Caples with 61. That's 30 different targets separating wide receiver 1 and wide receiver 2. That tells you what Dirk Cutter thought about Cam Camper. That's a massive loss. If they can get Cam Camper to come back, that would be a massive gain. If you can find a wide receiver 1, that would be a massive gain. If Chris Marshall could emerge as a wide receiver 1, that would be massive. I'm not sure any of those things can happen. I think there's some serious concerns with this wide receiver room, BJ.
So where else? I mean, the D-line is certainly a spot, but again, they have a month till signing day. There's a lot of players still in the portal. We mentioned quarterback. We mentioned wide receiver. I'm told they're still looking to add another running back. I think the D-line is an area they've got to really focus on. You lose Ahmed Hassanin. You obviously, as of now, have Jaden Virgin Morgan back, but I think you need another pass rusher. And then you lost some of those interior guys, the Sheldon Newton, Herbert Gum types, Michael Callahan. You lost some real beef there on the interior of the defensive line. So I think they need to beef up the defensive line. And you lost some key guys in the secondary as well, whether it be an Alexander Tubner, Rodney Robinson, Oladipo. I mean, you lost some key guys there. McCoy, we don't know about him. So I would say across the board defensively, if you get Simpson and Notriani back and you still have Rip, you feel okay at linebacker. But I would say the D-line, the secondary, I mean, they're going to look to add everywhere they can. But, I mean, I think the O-line, you're in pretty good shape. You added, you don't have to go find a impact starter on the O-line. You got 4 starters back. And you, like you said, 2 or 3 of those guys that are back also started games last year as well. So you feel pretty good about the O-line depth. We mentioned receiver, but I think for me, the defensive side of the ball, where you're losing as many as, 5, 6 starters, D-line, you got to beef it up. And I would work in the secondary as well.
Yeah, losing Shea Oladipo depresses me, and I think it depresses a lot of people because that dude was so much fun to watch, and it just happened so fast, and that's gonna suck. So they got to replace him. I think for the most part, and you're right about the linebackers, no problem there. Check other priorities, move on. There's enough decent bodies in the secondary, the Benefields of the world, where I think they can develop. They need 1 or 2 more, and we'll see how that plays out. To me, you started off with the priority. The priority to me is the defensive line and mostly the interior part of the defensive line. The Callahans and the Gums, those guys were fine, but they were never dominant. When you see somebody like Penn State and how dominant their defensive line is, even with Abdul Carter sitting on the sideline, and I know he's a special player, but I need some beasts. I need some dudes. I need some lather. I need some frothing. I need some just dudes that are just nasty, scary, and mean. And I don't see that happening on the D-line. So Jaden Virgin Morgan coming back is good. I want 4 or 5 defensive linemen playing football like Ahmed Hassanin played in the Fiesta Bowl with 1.5 legs, just playing for his life, playing his guts out, playing on fire. That was so cool to watch. I need more of that every single game for the rest of the season.
And this is another kind of, I guess, off-season topic here. But while we're just talking about this, I'm thinking about the leadership they're losing on the defensive side of the ball, too, with Alexander Tubner, Ahmed Hassanin, Michael Callahan, Rodney Robinson, Shea Oladipo. Like, they're losing some, multi-year starters, but also, like, captains and veteran leaders of this team. It's going to be very interesting to see who kind of emerges on the defensive side of the ball as that you look at Notriani and Simpson, certainly they're at linebacker, but they're going to be missing some veteran key staples of this defense from the last several years from a leadership standpoint, not even talking about what they brought on the field. So I think that's going to be an area of, I don't want to say concern, but just intrigue for me, or who are those guys that kind of, step up there. Mike, one thought quickly on the groundbreaking ceremony that happened before the basketball game. We were there with, Marlene Trump and Spencer Danielson and Jeremiah Dickey, and they had the groundbreaking ceremony, and they've actually already started the work. I mean, the shovel's already in the ground, and here's the picture that you got to have a hard hat and a sledgehammer photo there, I guess. But if you notice, like, the north end zone seats are already gone. I mean, the north end zone seats are already gone. They've almost got that area fully cleared out. And they are, like, in the next 6 weeks, I think they said 6 to 7 weeks, you'll start to see the steel beams going up here on this thing in like less than 2 months as they get all the infrastructure and groundwork ready with the concrete and things. But this thing's going to happen fast. And every time we see the drawings and the images and things, it looks awesome. And it's going to be a game changer. The 2025 season is going to be a little bit of a bummer with no seats in the north end zone, and going to be a little different getting through this season, Mike. But once they get this thing done, it's going to be pretty cool. And then I'm already thinking about, okay, then what's this thing look like when they redo the east side, or when they redo the south end zone, or what's next for the basketball? I mean, they got a lot of projects on the list right here, but this will change the look and feel of that stadium, and it's going to bring them a lot of cash. And a lot of people said this would never happen. They'd never get it across the finish line. And the fact that it is real and it is happening, I think it's a game changer for Boise State.
You know, when we showed up to check out the Potato Bowl and that small sliver of pie bleachers that were in the northwest corner of the stadium there, they took those down right away as soon as that season ended, and even for the Potato Bowl. That was symbolic to me. You know, you sit there and look at that, and then you see what it looked like on Saturday when they had the ceremony. I love this sense of urgency because you're right. You're never quite sure in terms of a construction project, especially when it comes to the finances and the state board and Boise State's priorities and so many other different places when it comes to finances. Is the president's office on board? Our athletics and the campus side, are they all on the same page? So many different things have to come to fruition. And the sense of urgency, the fact that they pounced on Saturday, January 4th, 2025 with this ceremony tells me that they're not messing around, that they're not wasting a single second of time, and they're going to get this sucker done. If we see steel beams go up within a month, how cool will that be? What it will look like when Boise State opens up its season next fall, we'll see what it looks like. It's going to be a mess, and I cannot wait to see 2026. But this sucker is going to be a game changer. I know it's not popular for everybody. The working man fan, the regular fan, the typical fan who sits in the regular bleachers are wondering why Boise State's making this a $70 million priority. It's about infrastructure. It's about moving forward. It's about taking care of the student athletes. It's about premium seating and cash. If you can raise more cash, the faster you can raise more cash, you can get the south end zone in the new varsity center complex, or maybe you can get the east side taken care of. So it's a process, and it's going to take forever. Jeremiah Dickey started it. It's such a process. There's no way Jeremiah Dickey will finish it because by then he'll be long gone. But I love the sense of urgency. I thought the Saturday press conference, the Saturday, the rendering, groundbreaking ceremony, whatever you want to call it, was very symbolic in terms of the sense of urgency. Boise State's not messing around. This thing is going to get done, and it's going to be really, really cool.
Boise says, sounds like some form of cement structure will be in place when the season starts. Oh, they'll have most of the actual structure itself built by the time the season starts. There's a ton of interior. The interior work has to happen and a lot of that stuff. And it'll be done. I think their initial timeline, like fully done, is going to be like July with like landscaping and all that. But this thing will mostly be done by like April of next year. So, it's only going to take them like 14, 15 months. There was a picture they showed us at the groundbreaking ceremony with kind of a timeline. And I would say, by the start of football season, the actual structure of what they're not going to have the seats in or any of that kind of stuff, but the actual like building itself will be mostly done, I think, by the time the football season is built. And he did say, someone said they got to get the capacity up. He did say his goal is to get it over 40,000 before all is said and done. So that'll happen with the east side or maybe the south end zone. That they recognize they were trying to add seats, not lose them, and now they're coming down. They're losing about almost 2,000 seats out of this, Mike. So their capacity is going to come down to like 34,000 or maybe even less than that. And so they're going to have to find a way to make that up, and whether that's redoing the east side, whether that's a new structure on the south end zone. But that is the long-term goal, to increase the capacity moving forward here. I've only got you for a couple more minutes, Mike. Go ahead.
Also real quick, and I don't remember the exact money, but they lose the 2,000 seats, but they told us in terms of game checks, game revenue, they go from like 750,000 to like 2 million or something like that in terms of the ultimate goal, or maybe I can't remember the exact.
The course of the season, it's more than that. Yeah, it was like $400,000 or $500,000 turning into like $5 million. Yeah.
Yes. So if Boise State, if the goal is to make money, and unfortunately money is more important than wins these days because money leads to the wins, they're going to 10 times more money based on the lack of seats. So it's smart financially. And it's just a kind of a price you have to pay for these next couple of years in terms of getting butts in the seats.
And I know some people don't like it. The north end zone crowd maybe is more rowdy, whatever. And you're going to have a lot of these older, rich people just sit there and on their hands and not cheer, whatever. I get what people are saying, but like you're just saying right there, you're increasing your revenue by 10 times. And that's part of the stadium. The other areas they're going to be able to do in terms of hosting wedding receptions and things throughout the year, and some of those events and things they're going to be able to do. And then I think just from a recruiting standpoint and just, closing that thing off and connecting the east side to the west side now. And they're going to, there's more updated restrooms that are included in this and things. So I think it's going to be a big benefit for everybody. And the coolest part for me, Mike, there's a lot of cool things, but the hammer in this kind of glass case, right in the room where when people are drinking and eating and they can all kind of look at this. And then there's going to be this huge video, smoke, light show. And then this little thing is going to raise up. And then the players are going to walk through the fans in this area. And whoever's carrying the hammer that day is going to, bust through this glass case or whatever and just yank out the hammer, and then they're going to run onto the field in front of all the fans right there. I mean, the visual is going to be pretty cool. So I'm excited for it. I think it's going to be cool. I'm going to keep this thing going, Mike. I know you're short on time, but I wanted to get one basketball thought from you. Shocker that we didn't get to everything on our list here in time, but you were there Saturday. I was there Saturday. Quick turnaround tomorrow. Now a big game against UNLV, not trying to drop another home game, but just couldn't get a rebound. Couldn't, keep San Diego State from, getting on the glass, and your best player, Tyson Degenhart, makes one field goal. I mean, you look at the stats, and it's pretty obvious why they lost, but obviously a disappointing game on Saturday.
Yeah, the physicality kind of concerned me a little bit. I thought we were kind of past that. The one issue that always seems to crop up with Boise State is the shooting. When they lose games like this, sometimes it is about the shooting, and maybe in this particular case, the physicality led to some of the poor shooting. I'm not so much concerned about losing to San Diego State, especially even at home. That's Boise State's going to be okay there, and you're going to lose to San Diego State. I'm more concerned now if this sets up, we got Boise State's got the game tomorrow night, and then you got the road trip to Logan on Saturday. The one thing that Boise State has to, they have to avoid, they can't go into that 3-game losing streak. They certainly can't lose 2 of these next 3. So that was kind of your one freebie during this 3-game stretch right now. They need to come back hard against UNLV tomorrow night. And I know UNLV is playing really, really well. I think they've won 4, 5, 6 in a row with the one loss to a ranked team by a point. So there is some serious concerns. I expect Boise State, because they don't really get into these slumps when it comes, slump's a wrong word. They don't play back-to-back poor games in Mountain West play. I know I beat up Leon an awful lot, but, he's always been able to rebound. And I fully expect Boise State to rebound tomorrow night against UNLV, take care of some business at home. I think Tyson Degenhart's going to explode tomorrow night. We'll see how it plays out. But, yeah, the rebounding, the lack of physicality, the lack of shooting, gets really frustrating. And we've seen that picture before from Boise State, but we've also seen them rebound and take care of these kinds of losses.
Yeah, they have in the last 3 years, one of their staples of making the tournament is not letting one loss turn into 2 or 3. And when they've kind of been counted out in a game, kind of like Saturday and Logan, they would find a way to go steal a game like that and all of a sudden make up for the loss they had, on Saturday. So I'm not saying they're going to go to Logan, and win, or even next Friday they go to New Mexico. That's going to be a super tough game also. But one of those games would be in years past, they'd go surprise you and find a way to win one of those. And you're like, okay, they're right back on track. And so just something's not clicking. I mean, I'm not super worried about it. I like you said, I still think they're going to win a lot of games, but just Omar Stanley, they got to get him going somehow. And just something just hasn't clicked right yet, but they had won 5 in a row before the game on Saturday. I mean, it is what it is, but yeah, tough home loss. And tomorrow night against UNLV. By the way, Rodney Robinson, so he had told us during the season that he was leaning towards not coming back, I guess, or was it planning for this to be his last game, Mike Prater, but I guess someone pointed out on his social media back on December 29th, he just put literally the number 5 in a period and nothing else. And so I don't know if he's thinking of running it back for a 5th year or what. He does have a COVID year available, I believe, Rodney Robinson. Does he, Mike Prater, or a red shirt or something? I believe he might have a year left, and we'll have to look into that, but maybe there's a chance they get Rodney Robinson back, which would be huge.
Yeah, I've always thought in the back of my mind that there is something out there lurking, although he did go through senior day. He was one of the guys that went through senior day, and I thought that they tried to
expect him to come back back before that.
Yeah, but you're right. So I love Rodney Robinson, and I think he's the one player that can really develop and become a superstar in that secondary. So we'll see how that plays out. That'd be a big one. I did not notice that. What number 5, would that be like his 5th season? What would number 5 mean?
I guess that would be what people are inferring is that he just put number 5, like, I'm coming back for my 5th year. Yeah, I don't know. But there was 4 or 5 responses right away to that saying, oh, you're running it back for 25. Let's go. I don't know if that's what it means. He does, I believe, have a year left. We'll have to look into that. But that would be an unexpected huge boost to the defense to get Rodney Robinson back.
I would love to see that. That would be spectacular. He's fun to watch.
I got a new lead for you for your show today, Mike Prater. Ivan wants to know how much would it cost to bring an NFL team to Idaho?
An NFL team to Idaho. Let's see. The going rate for a stadium these days is $5 billion just to get the stadium done. that makes the $70 million north end zone expansion look a little silly. So, yeah, that's a nice dream, but keep dreaming, buddy. Keep dreaming.
That's one way Jeremiah Dickey could get at the stadium fixed. Just get an NFL owner to come build him a brand new one, I guess. Yeah.
I love it. I love it.
Mike, I'm going to keep this going for a little bit. I got some more comments and things I wanted to touch on, but contractually, we'll let you go and get ready for your show today. 3 to 6, Idaho Sports Talk. I know there's some basketball interviews. We'll talk to Leon and some players today at 12:30, so I'm sure Bob will have some sound on that on today's show, and you guys will be all over transfer portal and football, and the news never stops, so we'll continue to follow who they're looking to add now, I guess, in the short term, instead of worrying about who they might lose and now didn't lose. But I know 3 to 6 today, you and Johnny will be all over it.
Yeah, we're looking forward to that. And actually, we have Dirk Cutter on the show today. So we're going to kind of debrief Dirk Cutter now that he's done. He's going to stick around and be an analyst for Spencer Danielson. I don't even think they're calling him an offensive analyst. Boise State's always had an offensive analyst, a defensive analyst. Dirk Cutter's future might just be analyst. And that's a phone call here, a phone call there from Spencer Danielson. But we're going to talk to Dirk Cutter today and kind of debrief the season, debrief his career, catch up on some memories, catch up on the future. Look forward to that. I'm more curious now about Rodney Robinson. So maybe by the time we get on, or certainly by the time you have your show tomorrow morning, we can get some more Rodney Robinson answers. But I want that dude to come back and play football at Boise State next year.
Yeah, nice get on Dirk Cutter. Hope folks will check that out. Listen to Dirk Cutter, 3 to 6 today, Idaho Sports Talk with Johnny Prater, Bob, JP, the whole gang there, 1350 AM, 95.3 FM. Thanks to JP for getting you on. And Mike, appreciate it, man. We'll be talking to you.
Thanks, BJ. Appreciate you, brother.
There he is, Mike Prater in the KTIK studios there. We appreciate him as always. We'll keep this thing going. If you guys don't have anywhere to go right away, I don't either. The all-wheel drive sale at Lithia Ford of Boise. Check them out. Perfect time with the Idaho winter coming in, the snow, the sleet, the rain. You need a four-wheel drive vehicle equipped for the conditions, and they've got it for you at lithiafordboise.com. You can view their full inventory of vehicles online, do your research ahead of time like the Rains family did, and pick the 2 or 3 you like, go in, test drive them. Makes the process so much easier and faster when you show up and you're not having to do all the research. You already know the vehicle. You already know what you're getting yourself into when you show up for that test drive. And we're talking a lot about NIL today. Lithia Ford of Boise is big in the NIL game. 6 student athletes at Boise State drive vehicles from Lithia Ford of Boise, including 4 football players. So return the favor to the biggest supporters of Boise State and Bronco Nation News, and that would be purchasing your next car or truck at Lithia Ford. Boise. Taco Bell, we saw the Nicolason family on the court. They were the game sponsor on Saturday, so they're certainly backing it up and supporting Boise State. Over $400,000 committed in student-athlete scholarships to the men's and women's basketball teams, and they were the game sponsor, as I said, got the game ball there at center court during the timeout. Just a great family. Steven, Stan, the whole Nicolason family, and the SON management group, Carl, everybody. We appreciate them for their support. So you want to support a company that bleeds blue and really supports them, take your family to Taco Bell for that next meal. Great food. I love the Cantina Bowl. Kids love the chicken tacos, all the cheesy roll-ups, the slushies, and they're renovating a lot of the different stores as well. The one on Eagle Road, they just renovated. It opened up on Saturday, and it looks great. So TacoBellWorks.com is their website if you want to apply for a job, and get the family over to Taco Bell. Great food, cheap, fun, and you're supporting folks that support us in the process. Taco Bell, TacoBellWorks.com. If you're looking for a job, the trucking industry maybe suits you better. How about TCS, Transportation Compliance Service? Get into the trucking industry every step of the way. You can get into the trucking industry, TransCompService.com. TransCompService.com, the overweight DOT, all the permits and things that you need to get there, get out there towing that first load in no time. They're a locally based company here helping folks all over the United States. Check them out online, TransCompService.com. Hey, I know the Fiesta Bowl's over, but if you're looking for that Fiesta Bowl gear, you want to get that Mountain West Championship gear, they've got it for you at the Blue and Orange store. They have the Ashton Genty gear as well. You can go online, theblueandorangestore.com, and order from anywhere in the world. But if you are in the Boise area, just go to the Boise Town Square Mall there, next to Pro Image, second floor of the mall, and they've got the shirts, things right there. The clearance rack up in the front always has some great deals. Need some new Boise State gear? They got you covered at the Blue and Orange store, theblueandorangestore.com. We're now in January. Jackson's, $2 for every hot dog and soda at Jackson's. $2 every hot dog and soda at Jackson's. And again, we're talking NIL, 25 cents from every hot dog sold at Jackson's. 25 cents from every hot dog sold at Jackson's goes to support the Horseshoe Collective at Boise State. So next time you're looking for snacks, for a hot dog, for a cold drink, Gatorade, whatever, head to Jackson's, of course, the gas as well. And you're supporting the Horseshoe Collective. You're supporting NIL. You're supporting Boise State from our partners at Jackson. Speaking of food, and if you got any comments or questions about the transfer portal, basketball, anything, get it in the ICC YouTube chat, and we'll get to that momentarily. But leanfeastmeridian.com, 10,000 plus combinations, healthy eating options. You choose how much, you choose what you want, all done by the weight. It's good for 5 days in your refrigerator, and it's good for 2 minutes in your microwave. And you're eating steak, shrimp, chicken, fish, all that good stuff. Delivery anywhere in the Treasure Valley. So get it on a Sunday or Monday, and you got your lunch taken care of for the whole week. Highly recommend it. It's easy, and it's awesome. leanfeastmeridian.com. We'll take your voicemails as well. We had a couple voicemails come in. Speakpipe.com/BNN. Try to play those tomorrow with Jay. Speakpipe.com/BNN. And if you've given us one recently, we will do the drawing here in the next week or two. So if you want to jump in now, leave us a voicemail. Speakpipe.com/BNN. And we'll raffle off a $100 gift card to the Blue and Orange store for anybody that wants to jump in with a question or a comment. It's brought to you by Signature Roofing. Been covering our community for more than 2 decades. MySignatureRoofing.com, whether it's a re-roof, whether it's a repair, an inspection, an estimate, they got you covered. All your roofing needs. Hit up our roofing sponsor. They have an NIL deal with RJ Keene. Signature Roofing online, MySignatureRoofing.com. Again, this is a Monday edition of the Blue and Orange store. Blue and Orange Store Monday edition, as I can't speak, of Bronco Nation News live here at BroncoNationNews.com. We're in the Western Collective Studios. Our title sponsor is RowPaint.com. We're checking the comments here on the ICCU YouTube chat. I think the NFL talk was kind of a joke. There's no way. Yes, I forgot about that. You do get a free taco. Shout out Taco Bell. If you went to the game on Saturday, Linda, you are correct. You had to have the Bronco app, and if you had tickets, somehow they're going to send it to you. If anybody got it, I'm not sure. Linda said must have only been for game day, had it on Saturday. They didn't say that at the time. Maybe that was the case, but check your app. You may get a free taco if you were at the game on Saturday, and that's courtesy of Taco Bell and our friends there. I am curious about Rodney Robinson as well. That would be huge. I remember seeing the number 5, and I'd forgotten about that. I'm going to try to make some calls here when we get off the air and see what that means. If that does mean that he is coming back for another year or not, that would be a huge boost to the secondary to get Rodney Robinson back if that were the case. Excuse me. I don't know if that, meant that he was coming back or not. I do believe that he is eligible for a year. And if Rodney Robinson were to come back, that would be massive if they could get Rodney Robinson back. So I will check on that here moving forward. Did get a lot of talk from people about the atmosphere at the basketball game on Saturday. I'd put out some tweets and stuff about that. We'll see what happens with that, but I just want to make sure I was not trying to rip on anybody at Boise State. I was not trying to speak negatively about the experience. I don't think it's bad. I think it's good. I just think it could be great. So anyone that took offense at Boise State, I apologize for the comments on the atmosphere at the game. For whatever reason, the crowd wasn't very loud. Most of that's probably on the crowd. You guys, they were just asleep and still on the football hangover, and whether it was traveling back or whatever, the crowd wasn't super loud. And I get it. The team didn't give them a ton to cheer about, but some of those previous San Diego State games were electric, and I would not call that electric by any means on Saturday. So it's nothing personal to anybody at Boise State. It's just my honest opinion. I thought it could have been a little better, and that's mostly on the fans. But I do think there's some small tweaks they could make in terms of some of the stuff for the game day environment. So I'm going to be talking to some folks, and we'll see what happens. But I had heard that maybe didn't go over well, and I saw I got retweeted by someone. It is what it is. But I mean, I'll say this. The athletic director commented about it. I mean, you saw Jeremiah Dickey's tweet saying that someone told his kids to sit down at a game recently and because they were cheering too loud. And then the opposing beat writer, Mark Ziegler from the San Diego Union Tribune, called it extra quiet arena in his article. So, the opposing team noticed, the opposing team's beat writer noticed that travels to every Mountain West arena and called it extra quiet arena. So if I'm the one that's taking all the shrapnel and for calling them out, I guess it is what it is. But I other people, including the athletic director himself, has said that people have told his kids to sit down before. And the opposing beat writer, Mark Ziegler, called it extra quiet arena. So I'm not the only person, I guess, that noticed that it wasn't very loud on Saturday. And I think Boise State does a tremendous job with some of the things they have going on there. I love the jock jams before tip-off. I was happy that it was able to play for a good majority of the pregame Sometimes that's an issue, but I thought they timed that perfectly. You got a good 30, 45 seconds of jock jams before tip-off. I thought that was great. I think Joey Jenkins does a great job doing his best to try to fire up the crowd. They've got some cool things. I like the intro video. I like the lights going off. They've certainly made some improvements, but I think they would even tell you the sound system needs to be improved. Some other areas could be improved, and I'm not putting it all on Boise State by any means. It's just some small tweaks that I think could make it even better. I thought the crowd itself, though, is largely to blame for what happened on Saturday. It just wasn't super loud, and I thought that that was mostly, again, don't know, and there were some empty seats too. That was part of it. I don't know if fans just didn't want to come, couldn't find somebody to use their tickets. I don't know where that, how you have an empty seat that just goes unused for a game against San Diego State on a Saturday at 2:00. Like tomorrow night, 8:30. That's going to be a little tough for folks. I get it. 8:30 on a school night, 8:30 on a work night. Like I get it. There may be some empty seats tomorrow, but you would still like to think that if you have tickets and it's too late to go, you can find somebody willing to go. Give your tickets to somebody willing to go. Like, I don't understand, how you have an empty seat that you paid for. Like, if you can't go, that's great, but don't just keep your tickets and not use them. Give them to a neighbor, give them to somebody at church. Like your kid's baseball team, there has to be somebody you can find that would be willing to go at 8:30 tomorrow night to watch the game. And the same with San Diego State. I mean, there was probably 2,000 empty seats in that stadium. How does that happen? I just don't understand how that happens where you have that many seats that just go unused. And I know the students aren't in session. I love the students. They've actually increased student attendance this year. I get it. The students are doing great. Maybe it was just a one-time thing, but for a game of that magnitude, I know the easy excuse is, students were out of town, school's not in session. Don't a decent amount of Boise State students live in Boise? Like, you're telling me you couldn't find 2 or 3 more hundred students that live in Boise that wanted to come back for this game? Like, when I was a student in college, I lived in St. Louis, but you'd go back for the games and to Kansas. Like, that's just what you did. You went back for the games. And I'm not saying people at home for break need to come back for every game, but there has to be more students that live in Boise. I think they're just trained to be like, it's winter break, I'm not going back for the game. Like, what? No, it's a basketball game. You have a ticket. Like, you need to be there. I don't understand how the Boise State students love them. They've done a great job this year, but the San Diego State game, the biggest home game of the year, your excuse why you're not going is because it's winter break. Like, it's a Saturday at 2:00. Like, what are you doing? I don't understand how the students didn't show up. And there was a ton of people wanted to say, it was full on the other side. No, my side where we were on the media side, there were a ton of empty seats. Behind the band was all empty. And a lot of the people sitting in the student sections weren't even students. So Boise State sold out. They could have sold more of those seats if the students would have showed up. And people that claimed their tickets, I guess, didn't show. And they weren't able to fill the student section, which I thought was, disappointing. Leon Rice, the coaches, the players, like, they see that stuff. It's San Diego State. They expect to run out of the tunnel and have it be electric. And when the announcer's asking you before the game and Joey Jenkins is saying, get on your feet, and you don't have the whole stadium getting on their feet. I mean, I don't know how quickly I can get this video in, but I have a video of the pregame, excitement where he's telling everybody to get on their feet and stand up. And you've got people in the back standing up, but all the people down there in the front are all sitting down. Let's see if I can get this video put in fast enough to show you guys what I'm talking about. And I'm not trying to rip on the fans. You guys buy these subscriptions. You guys support our sponsors. I don't have a business here if it's not for you guys. So I do understand that. And I appreciate all you guys that support, that come. I just think you guys, you go to you have tickets to a basketball game. Why not show up? You make the effort and decision to go to a basketball game. Why not get into it for 2 hours and cheer and be a little louder for your team? I just think that that's a little, I don't understand, I guess, where that difference is when in terms of the crowd on Saturday. And it's been great. They're selling more seats. But I really think that, it could have been a little better in terms of the last game. Here's what I'm talking about. This is the last game when Joey Jenkins asked everybody to stand up. You had the folks standing up further back, but the first 4 rows, all those blue seats, those folks are just kind of sitting there. There's some of the empty seats. You can see the third deck. Look at all the seats in section 12 right behind the basket there that are empty. There's 2 or 3 empty rows there. This side was pretty good. There's some empty seats right there. I don't know if I showed the whole student section or not. There's a lot of orange right there, empty seats. So again, right behind section 12, you see a lot of empty seats right there. In the blue seats, these folks they're mostly filled, but they're all kind of sitting down. Just, you got jock jams going. You got a chance for a huge win, and I just thought that the atmosphere could have been a little better. So it is what it is. I do think halftime move down to any empty seat. I actually wonder about that. But it is what it is. I just wanted to say I know some folks had heard me and weren't happy, I guess, with some of the things that I had said. So it's nothing. Like I said, apologize to anybody at Boise State. Wasn't trying to rip on anybody. They work very hard. They do a lot of work to put these games on. It was just I was responding to people. People asked about the sound system. I said didn't sound very loud. People were asking about the empty seats. I said, yeah, there were some. So those are just kind of facts. They're not necessarily ripping on anybody. It is what it is. So I know they're working hard to get it going, and you hope for tomorrow night, 8:30. Be very curious what the crowd looks like tomorrow night. If you couldn't have a loud, raucous crowd for San Diego State at 2:00 on a Saturday, what kind of crowd are you going to have for an 8:30 game on a Tuesday night, work night, school night, 8:30 game tomorrow night? We'll see what the crowd looks like, tomorrow night from that standpoint. Speaking of basketball, we are doing our private jet giveaway, and we'll be drawing this name in less than 2 weeks. Sponsored by Ridley's Family Markets. Round trip for two from Boise to Las Vegas on a private jet, February 4th. You go to the game. You sit in great seats. You get a nice steak dinner. You get to hang out at Circa. You get a hotel night at Circa. It'll be the trip of a lifetime. We've done it twice, and both our winners had a great time. We appreciate Ridley's Family Markets, all of our sponsors, for helping put this trip together. But all you have to do is be a yearly subscriber to Bronco Nation News. So if you're a yearly subscriber already, you're already in. And if you're not a yearly subscriber, you can subscribe for $50 using that promo code BNN50 deal. And that puts you automatically into the drawing, and we'll do that in a couple weeks. But subscriber benefit from our grand prize and our raffle is going to be the trip for two on a private jet to the game in Las Vegas in February. So speaking of UNLV coming tomorrow, you can see the game in Las Vegas coming up next month on February 4th. All you have to do is be a yearly subscriber to Bronco Nation News, and you can do that for $50 at BroncoNationNews.com. Let's see here. Just spent 5 days at Circa. It's an unbelievable place to stay. I agree. And Bob to the E, we appreciate you for saying that. Appreciate you for staying there. Thank you so much for supporting the sponsors. I cannot wait to get back. We were just there coming back from the Fiesta Bowl. I don't know how you guys all afforded it. The prices were crazy expensive coming back from the Fiesta Bowl. So we actually found it to be cheaper to get a one-way ticket to Las Vegas. And we stayed one night there. And then the next day on the second, flew back from Vegas to Boise and had a chance to check out Circa. You have to be 21 to stay there. So we stayed with our family at the D, Las Vegas, right there on Fremont Street, but made it up to Circa. It's just a awesome, friendly family atmosphere. And next time you're looking to go to Las Vegas, highly recommend you stay at Circa, at the D, at Golden Gate, one of their properties. If you're a sports fan, their outdoor pool experience is unbelievable. We're going back for the Super Bowl again, doing it for the third year in a row, flying down just to watch the Super Bowl and then flying back. If anybody's ever thought of doing that or ever wanting to do that, let me know, because we'll get a little BNN party put together. There's a morning flight on Southwest and a night flight to come home after the game on Southwest. You literally fly down with no luggage, no nothing, and watch the Super Bowl at Circa, hang out, bet, and fly back after the game that night. It's pretty fun thing. We're doing it for the third year in a row, my wife and I, and if anybody else is interested, would love you. I highly recommend watching the Super Bowl at Circa. It's amazing. It's a pretty cool place, awesome place. We appreciate their support and their continued support of Bronco Nation News. By the way, Jeremiah Dickey met with the media after the groundbreaking ceremony. That interview is up on the YouTube channel. I'm not going to play it now, but if you are interested, you can go to the Bronco Nation News YouTube channel, and there's a nice long interview with Jeremiah Dickey, the athletic director at Boise State, on our YouTube channel, talking about the North End Zone project, the groundbreaking opening, and what's next in terms of the athletic department and what they have going on there. So I highly recommend checking that interview out if you want to with Jeremiah Dickey. Highly recommend supporting all of our sponsors. Again, the Blue and Orange Store, our Monday sponsor. Check out the blueandorangestore.com. All your Boise State gear, the Blue and Orange Store, the blueandorangestore.com. Travis Hawks, one of our biggest supporters. When I started Bronco Nation News, Travis Hawks was one of the first people to kind of push me over the ledge. So really appreciate Travis Hawks, and you guys can return the favor if you're liking the content and coverage here at Bronco Nation News by supporting the Blue and Orange Store, theblueandorangestore.com. And that goes for our title sponsor, roepaint.com as well, roepaint.com. All your painting needs. Make sure you hit up our title sponsor, roepaint.com. They make these shows possible every day. And of course, the Western Collective Studios, our studio sponsor. Head out to Garden City. Check out their brewery out there, right off the connector. Great cold beer, cold drinks, great pizza, lots of great options there. And you can also buy the Horseshoe Golden Ale and support the Horseshoe Collective at most of your local retailers, and including Extra Mile Arena. They got it on tap, I believe, at Extra Mile Arena on game day. So support the sponsors, folks. Keep this thing free of charge, and we really appreciate all you guys for your support. As Hunter says, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button to our YouTube channel. Help us out if you're able to subscribe to our website. We got all kinds of content coming this week in terms of looking at the football roster moving forward, what areas of need they have, kind of some position breakdowns are coming to all the different positions. And believe it or not, we're only about 2 months away from the start of spring ball. So we'll have plenty of football coverage. I think our man Brad Bedell is going to stick with us every Wednesday here through spring ball. So we're going to get weekly Brad Bedell football analysis all the way through the spring game in April. We'll continue to have, football talk almost on a daily basis here as we look at this roster and what's going on with coaching staff news and transfer portal and everything else. So appreciate all you guys for your support. We really appreciate everybody that makes this show possible. I know I'm not for everybody. Everybody doesn't love me. That's fine. That's great. But those of you that do appreciate this, I appreciate you back. And thank you for your support of Bronco Nation News and making this show possible. So these are free shows on YouTube. You don't have to watch if you don't want to. But those of you that do, the 1,419 of you, appreciate you guys. And like I said, if you want to keep this show free on YouTube, keep a lot of our content on social media free, please support the sponsors, many of which you see behind us. Jackson's and Taco Bell are two big ones that need to get added to the banner here. So appreciate you guys so much. Thank you for everything. And let's big basketball game tomorrow night. We're going to go down and talk to Leon, talk to some players, and we'll have plenty of coverage moving forward here. And I know that the football season has kind of come to an end, and it never really just kind of said that. So I want to just say thank you guys. It was a fun football season, and really appreciated all the support we got throughout the year. And we'll continue to give you, football coverage year-round here on Bronco Nation News. So the games may be over, but football season and football coverage never really ends at BroncoNationNews.com. But with that said, big basketball game tomorrow, UNLV. Jay Tust will join me at 9 a.m. tomorrow. So we'll have some basketball, some football talk with Jay Tust tomorrow. We'll get Leon Rice and the players uploaded to our YouTube channel this afternoon. And we'll see you at 9 a.m. tomorrow. If any other news breaks or whatever, we'll have you covered on the website, BroncoNationNews.com, on social media as well. And go subscribe if you can. BNN 50 deal. You get a 1-year subscription for just $50 to read Mike Prater, to read myself, to read Nathan Carroll, and also to get to enter to win that private jet trip for the game in February down in Las Vegas. Have a great rest of your day, guys. Again, from the Western Collective Studios, our title sponsor, of course, roepaint.com. This has been a Blue and Orange Store Monday. Bronco Nation News Live, BroncoNationNews.com.